All right, well, we are live again, hoping to avoid
About to go back on live. Here we go.
censorship.
Stand by. Stand by. Miles Davis on KMKR 99.9 FM. We're just past 4 o'clock. It's 4:11. I'm here with Glendon Gross, and we had a nice conversation here during the break about how important that cut is.
It's true.
How important those solos are from Miles Davis, John Coltrane, and then following that, ending that with Cannonball Adderley.
Yes.
And that's obviously Kind of Blue, which I believe is still the #1 selling jazz album.
I think it is, yeah.
Either that or Time Out.
It's outsold a lot more.
Yeah, those are definitely, it's definitely in the top 5, that's for sure. But the importance of that song is because if you listen to it, the more you listen to it, you realize each one of those solos takes an approach to the blues that is completely, well, not completely different because they're all playing in a cool style, but Miles plays with such a clarity and space and thoughtfulness and tone that is unmatched. But the harmonic, the harmonic difficulties of what he's playing, you know what I mean? Like
sure.
For the blues, the choices that he's making over the blues are something I think are remarkable, and that's why it should be noted.
One thing that you're focusing on, and I think it's great that you're focusing on this, is that all 3 soloists in this track sound different.
Right.
You know,
right.
so Miles sounds different than Coltrane. Coltrane sounds different than Cannonball Adderley.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what T.S. Monk emphasized when he came to Tucson a few years back. Gave a master class for As Jazz Week at the University of Arizona, where I was a student. And he emphasized that everybody should play different than everyone else. He said that now everybody sounds like Coltrane, and look, nobody can work. But back
Right.
then, you know, Sonny Rollins didn't sound like Stan Getz,
Sure.
who didn't sound like Lester Young,
Who didn't sound like Art Pepper.
who didn't sound like Charlie Parker.
Yeah, exactly.
They all sounded different, and,
Yeah.
and therefore everybody could work because the audience was getting something fresh and different from everyone.
Sure.
Well, in an academic setting, it's hard to teach this idea of originality. Some people believe it can't be taught, but T.S. Monk was criticizing educators, local educators and nationally, for not bringing this out because there's too much of this, like in the movie Whiplash, there's too
Yes,
much
right.
pressure to conform. And jazz is not about conforming. Jazz is about everybody can sound like themselves.
Almost like it's a competition.
So you don't sound like me, and I don't sound like
No,
you,
no.
but we still get along, right?
I wish I sounded like you.
But the beauty of it is that you don't sound like me. Then when you play, something different comes
Sure,
out.
sure.
So I know we're going to each bring out our own spin on the.
Well,
the
I
music.
know that when I play, I try to have originality in what I bring to the table. You know, because I don't want to be a copycat.
You're not a copycat.
But I want to bring elements of other players into what I have. I want to have an element of Miles, and I want to have an element of Chet, and I want to have an element of Wallace Roney, and I want to have an element of Roy Eldridge too.
Right.
And
Now,
all
by
of
the
those
way,
things will come out.
Scotty Barnhart, the current director of the legendary Count Basie
Sure.
Orchestra, emphasized this when he gave me a master class when he was here, also in connection with the U of A. And he emphasized that, you know, you should be able to understand these different styles. But what a lot of people don't do is develop their own style. And I think you have your own style, Tony.
Sure.
And I have my own
Yeah,
style to
absolutely.
some extent. We're still developing. But this next track you're about to play, I'm excited about it because we tried to emulate some
Look
of
at
these
you,
same,
like you're
same
a radio
features.
host. Like, look
well,
at the segue.
You're
right
the
there.
real
Nice.
radio host, but
Nice segue, Glenn.
back in the day when I was at Swarthmore, I actually had a license and I had my own radio show. We can talk more about that later.
On to this next track that you're about to.
But I
Well
wanted
done,
to
well
just
done.
plug this track for a minute. I'm a big fan of Ken Berry, the tenor saxophonist in this
Sure.
track. He's actually helped arrange some of the music on Art Frank's albums, and he appears on several of Art Frank's albums. But he doesn't sound like me at all, and you'll notice the way he comes in on this tune. His interpretation of the tune is very, very different than mine, and the fact that we are so different is what makes the tune work.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing that was going on in Freddie the Freeloader, and I'm so glad that you brought that out, Tony, because people need to understand
They're
that
so
you,
different.
You don't have to sound like the next guy. That's what makes jazz fun. You can
Exactly.
be yourself. You don't have to fit into some hole that's been pre-designed for you.
But not even that. Those solos are important. You know, just those particular solos. The way that Miles chose those harmonic structures, the way that Coltrane made those ribbons of sound, the way that Cannonball was like an acrobat. You know,
For sure.
They're all special solos. Like, and I think most jazz musicians, when you put it on, they sing along to the solos.
You know, when I heard the tenor player Pete Chrisleve in L.A., I thought he was just one of the best tenor players I'd ever heard. He used to play with Steely Dan. So I went up to him afterwards and I said, Pete, you sound so wonderful. He says, all his technique is Cannonball's technique transferred to the tenor. That was what Pete Chrisleap said. So if Pete liked Cannonball, you know, that's good enough for me,
Nobody
too.
likes a copycat. All right, well, let's do this. Who's on this, man?
Well, this track features myself on trumpet. It features Kathy Frank on drums. Michael Grigsby is the bassist. And Ken Berry is playing tenor sax. And my good dear friend Gary Burnett is playing the Steinway grand piano made in 1944.
That's in your house.
That's at my house. We call it the Arizona Room. So this is just recorded in the Arizona Room, and I did release it on Facebook, but it's not released through iTunes yet. So you're getting something really fresh here, kind of raw. But I think you're gonna like it.
First time world premiere, Glendon Gross and friends, The Little Sunflower. It was funny, dude. And you know, this next cut coming up, it's so smooth, man.
Well, I just sensed maybe you're ready to make a transition there.
Yeah. That's great.
So if you're watching this from the Tucson area, you can get better audio by tuning in FM 99.9.
That's correct, 99.9.
Yeah. 3 nines of reliability.
Indeed. Our signal oscillates at 99.9 million times per second.
That's remarkable.
On the FM dial. I'm bummed that my playlist was gone.
You're going to get all the kinks out. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. I just need a different program, I think.
Hey, is this just your second show?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm proud to be on your show for the second time.
You're my first guest.
I'm excited to be your first guest.
Linda was technically my first guest, but you know what I'm going to play? The Airman a Note.
Oh, great idea.
Dude, because they're from here. They're the
hey,
guys.
You know, Kenny Smuckle lives in Tucson.
Kenny Smuckle and Mike Crotty up in Phoenix.
Oh, yeah, Mike Crotty's a wonderful multi-instrumentalist.
Oh, we're doing Mr. PC, dude.
Oh, fabulous.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let's see. Caravan? Caravan or PC?
Oh, I like them both.
Let's go PC, because that'll be after this.
Sure. Named after Paul Chambers.
Perfect. Let me just check that out real quick in my monitor. What's up?
The mic is not on at the moment.
No, we're out.
Oh, we are live on Facebook.
Okay. You guys, just let me know when you go turn the mic on. Make sure you're quiet right there.
No, you guys are you're fine. Where are you at, though?
I'm just going to be putting up the...
Oh, yeah. We'll let them know that we're under construction, so don't worry.
Okay.
It's actually kind of quaint.
Hey, there could be some extra percussion
out there. So every time you turn on the mic...
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. That'd be awesome. They're putting up some soundproofing here.
Well, that's exciting. Well, we're making real progress here. All right, I can tell.
So Jazz Guild, it'll be a community center. It'll be we'll have refreshments and stuff that you can have there, but mainly the idea is that you just come there for music, and you can order food from other places, or you can go down the street and get food in the Saigon, or you can do that. You'll be able to bring in stuff if you want. You can bring in like beer or wine if you want to do that.
That sounds great.
But instead of the onus being on generating money, the onus is just on people being there, and they pay a small amount to go in, as opposed to having to spend $40 to go and buy wine and a plate of food. They spend $5 to get in the door and have fun.
As long as you've been talking about this, and I think you said that the kickoff is on October 16th.
October 16th, 7
is the
p.m.
very first date.
The Galactic Center,
at the
35
Galactic Center.
East Tool.
In Tucson, Arizona, USA.
There'll be 4 rhythm sections.
Wow.
And all kinds of horn players.
Now, I got to tell you, Tony, this reminds me of how I learned to play, because the place I learned to play was similar to this. I learned to play at the Theater Arts Club in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and there was a drummer.
Let me turn this down a little bit.
Sure.
Go ahead. Just because we're talking to you.
Yeah. So you can still hear, that's me on the trumpet back there. But if you want to hear it clearer,
I was just a little jealous. I wanted to turn it down.
No. You also want people to hear me talk. So
yeah, I want
cool.
people to hear what you're saying.
So I learned how to play at the Theater Arts Club in Santa Fe. There was a drummer named Mark Clark. Mark is still a Facebook friend. And he used to have one music stand, and on it was the real book. And they'd just turn pages, and they'd say, this is what we're going to play next. And if you couldn't play what was up, you had to sit down.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I decided right away, well, you know what? I may sound like crap, but I'm just going to stay up here and play, because that way I'll learn. Otherwise, if I keep sitting down, standing up, I'm not going to learn the tunes I don't know. and I wanted to learn. So I kept standing up, and boy, I played some really terrible sounding solos.
I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
but the thing about that is you develop the skill to play something you don't know, and playing stuff that you don't know is the secret to learning how to play better. Too many players are afraid to miss notes, and you need to be willing to miss notes.
But you gotta do your homework too.
Sure.
I mean, I think a lot of musicians get frustrated with. You'll be at a setting where there's some seasoned cats, and there'll be guys that think that they belong up there and they haven't done their homework, and they'll get up there and they'll only use that time as where they learn.
Right.
So you're right. You got to learn on the bandstand, but you got to do your homework.
Oh yeah.
You got to have a good sound before you get there. You got to have a relatively good grasp of like what changes are, what blues changes are, and stuff like that. You can't just like throw yourself into a pool of sharks.
Agreed.
Because I did that. I made that mistake where I wasn't ready in certain places, and people vibed the hell out of me because of it. Where you'd make a mistake here or there, and I was thinking, hey, I made mistakes. You're supposed to make mistakes. No, man, you made a mistake in that setting, and they chewed your head off.
But let's remember what happened to Charlie Parker when Joe Jones threw the cymbal at him.
Yeah.
He was playing the wrong tune in the wrong key.
Yeah.
And they weren't having anything of it. And when that cymbal crashed, that shocked Charlie Parker.
That cymbal was very symbolic.
But I think it sent him. It made him go back to the drawing board and start practicing more.
Yeah.
And the result shook the entire jazz world.
Yeah. I heard somebody say that actually didn't really happen.
That's interesting. I don't know if it happened or not, but it certainly is in a lot of books.
It's a good story though, and it makes a good point. To know what you're doing, but don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid, but know what you're doing for sure.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be embarrassed, but also you don't want to be a punk either. But
we all have to start somewhere, and so for young people that want to play jazz, I love that your facility is going to have a night when they can play called the community night.
Yeah, that's why we'll
jazz.
have a community night. Well, actually, what I want to do is just like a school showcase where we'll have during the day. It'll be that clinic I'm talking about, and then we'll showcase our students in that evening. So it can be like an all afternoon thing on Sundays,
right?
Or the possibilities with this space are endless. But the Jazz Guild is going to be that place where it's not people talking loudly while you're trying to play, and there aren't a bunch of clanging plates and things like that going on. It'll be like the Nash in Phoenix, if you've ever been up there.
Oh, I love that place.
Yeah, it's dedicated to the music.
Yeah.
You listen to the music. So, like I said, we're not onus on bar sales or food sales. We're just onus on you showing up. Everything is a tax deduction if you donate to us. If you want to become a contributor as well, the Galactic Center also is an art gallery space. They also have raves. They have like gong meditation and stuff.
Yeah,
the Galactic Center is a magical, weird place. I love being a part of it.
I love the pictures when you went live the other day.
Isn't it cool?
There's huge sculptures that look like a shape of a face.
I know.
And you said those are acoustic spaces you can get inside.
Yeah, those are sound chambers that are for therapeutic sound chambers, like for mental and physical therapy.
Sounds really interesting.
The guy Stephen I, who runs the place, he crafted those.
That's beautiful.
But the room itself just has an unbelievable structure to it, and you just got to see it. You just got to come October 16th. It's going to be an off-the-charts jazz jam session with everybody and their brother's mother coming out for that. So the 16th of October, 7 p.m. Small fee to get in the door. There's going to be hors d'oeuvres and refreshments and the whole
And Tony,
community.
you mentioned a vision of having on Mondays like a workshop, or masterclass, and on Tuesdays having a pro jam,
Yes.
and on Wednesdays having the community jam,
Yes.
and on Thursdays having concerts. I think that's a wonderful plan that you have.
Or,
It's a vision. I'm gonna
it
call
doesn't
a
have to
vision.
be on those specific nights, but you get the idea. I get the vision of having where let's say you are with the rhythm section in the room, and you have kids and parents and adult players that are novices, and you're playing a song and saying, here's the song, here's who wrote it, here's the structure of the tune, A, B, A, here, the bridge goes down like this. The lyrics have a certain meaning because of they're asking questions. You're interactive with them.
Yeah.
It's a hands-on but organic way to break down jazz, and it gives everybody the opportunity to know what we're thinking as we're playing.
Yeah.
To know how we get our inspiration, and that's a weekly thing we do. So maybe you do one week, and the next week it's Danny Brito. leading the class.
Sounds great.
You know, with Amilcar and Manny Brito.
That
And then
sounds
the
great.
next week, maybe it's Mike Moynihan leading the class. But it's never a pressure situation of having
Yeah.
tests or having to account for grades or anything like that. You just come and learn at your own pace.
And jazz can be an emotional outlet, which is what makes it sort of
Therapeutic.
very
Yeah.
therapeutic. It gives you a chance to release. It might even help you perform better in school or in work. You know.
No, that's not even might. That
It will,
is
it
will.
will. Yeah, I
that's
believe you're right.
proven. That's absolutely scientifically proven that music stimulates the cerebral cortex and the synapses of the brain for memory, cognitive skills, everything, logic, everything about the brain. Music can help you. It helps Alzheimer's patients. It helps
Indeed.
with depression. I suffer from depression. You suffer from depression, right?
Oh, sure.
Okay. I take medications for depression, and let me tell you something. If I didn't have music, I'd probably be a bowl of Jello.
Yeah, music
Yeah.
is such a wonderful way to regulate your emotions and your body.
My doctor says my prescription, I am prescribed music. I'm prescribed to play music. My
That's
doctor
fantastic.
says I have to play music to keep my happiness going.
Well, that's fabulous. That's
So
wonderful.
there you go. No, there's no ifs about it. It absolutely is. It is proven that it is medically therapeutic for you. There's no question about it.
Well, I'm just so glad to hear you say that. And, I'm reminded of how it is for Parkinson's patients. There's a book, Musicophilia, by Oliver Sacks, who just recently passed away. And he tells some wonderful stories in there. But one of the things he talks about is how Parkinson's patients can be very, very challenged. But then when you put on music, they're almost normal.
Yes.
Somehow things come.
Yes.
And I've done this before. I played for Parkinson's patients here in Tucson where I saw them dancing and having a great time. So I think it's a great opportunity we have.
Well, that's like Carl Fontana. Carl Fontana had Alzheimer's, and his brain was completely gone. But if you put him on a stage and put his trombone to his mouth and you started playing Stella by Starlight, it was all there.
Yeah.
It was all boom, like he was back.
That's a wonderful thing.
Let's come in and do a little talking about some things,
All right.
and we'll play this Mr. PC cut.
All right. That'll be great. We're going to go to the Airmen of Note next. Local trumpet player Kenny Smuckle played in the Airmen of Note.
Where's my phone? I wanted to check something on it.
Not sure.
Oh, right here.
Very good.
So we got 2 minutes on that. You guys do a long turnaround.
Yeah, I love long
And
tracks.
I love
mean,
long turnarounds.
I mean, the main reason that many tracks are shorter was because back in the day, you had to fit them on a piece of vinyl, and they didn't
Yeah.
have any way to go longer. But now we have all kinds of technology where we can stretch out the music and make it become.
Well, also they
meditative.
kept them shorter to keep people's attention span.
That's true. You got a good point there.
Do you have any readers? Do you have...
Not with me.
No. All right, I can see this. Actually, I can
All
see
right.
it. If you want to hear us live on the radio, tune to 99.9 FM KMKR.
Yes.
I love the fact that I can have a computer here and a phone here and a tablet there, and you have a phone there.
Right.
And we have a clock there.
Yeah, these are all computers, really. Everything here is got.
Everything is good.
Yeah.
We are. What's that when humans are trying to interface with technology? There's a term for it. There's like a movement.
Yeah,
I can't remember. I've been watching it on the.
similar to virtual reality.
Yeah. Pretty soon we'll be bored. We'll be
You
like
think so,
bored,
really?
yeah.
I hope not.
Like in 100 years.
How
We're
could
going to be
music-
able to reverse aging in like 20 years.
You think so?
Yeah. You and I are going to live to be 200.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. You heard it here
Yeah,
first.
I think people just got freaked out like about 200 years of us.
Well, maybe we would get old after 200 years, you think?
No, we would get stale as AF after 200 years. Cool stuff from my guest in studio, Glendon Gross. That's the Little Sunflower. I love it. And tell us who was on that, Glenn.
Yeah, that particular track featured myself on trumpet, Ken Berry on tenor saxophone, Michael Grigsby on bass, Garrig Burnett on the Steinway grand piano,
In your house.
and Kathy M. Frank on drums.
Steinway
And
in your
yeah,
house.
we played in what we call the Arizona room, just using a simple recording setup, and we all had a great time playing. And I'm really happy that Tony Frank here is offered to let me play some of this music for you, which I love and which I know he loves. You love that particular song, don't you?
Well, it means it's a special song for us
That's right.
because years ago I had an accident and I had I had surgery on my jaw, so it caused me excuse me, it caused me to have nerve damage in my face, and I still have some nerve damage. I'd say probably 20 to 25% of the nerve damage is still there.
Wow.
But I had lost complete feeling in my mouth, on the left side of my face, on my lower lip, and down through my chin.
Amazing.
So I couldn't feel anything for, I don't know, it took about 6 months to get any of the
You have that in
feeling
common
back.
with Chet Baker, don't you?
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much the same thing, and it was called trigeminal nerve damage, is what it was.
Terrible.
There's a nerve that splits into 3 places, and it goes to your tongue, into your chin, into your lip, and your gum line, and that was damaged. It wasn't severed, but it was damaged. So it took some time to get it back. As I talk, it's weird because when I talk about it, I can feel it.
Wow, that's remarkable.
Yeah, it's almost a psychosomatic thing. As I'm talking about it, I can feel the tension coming back to it. It'll probably always be there. But anyway, so I went through about 6 months of 6 to 9 months of not being able to play. I could play a little bit, but I just didn't have any feeling. And then one day, almost overnight, I got about 60% of the feeling back. Like I woke up one morning and it was like boom.
It's amazing.
And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? So I went out to the jam session, and you had this crazy looking horn that looked like a little miniature tuba, like you left it in the dryer too long. It just shrunk. You and Rick Moranis shrunk that tuba.
That's right. Looks like a tuba.
Honey, I shrank the tuba. Anyway, it had the warmest, most beautiful, buttery, like bass trombone kind of sound to it.
True.
And I said, what in the heck is that thing? And you said, that's an E flat horn, TF, and you should play it. And I put it in my mouth and I blew on it, and it had just like a softness to it.
Yeah, it did.
Do you know what I mean?
Beautiful.
Like it just had like if trumpet players out there, when you play trumpet, there's a back pressure to the trumpet. So there's always going to be some kind of pressure. So you're pushing on your mouth, and that's kind of hard if you've had an injury.
Right.
But this almost felt like I had no pressure.
Beautiful.
Right?
Yes.
And so I was getting great tone out of it, and I played a song on it for the first time. I think it was maybe 7 months since the accident, and I played on It Could Happen to You.
Right.
And for some reason, the singer did it in A flat, and then the fingerings worked out perfectly for trumpet fingerings.
Isn't that beautiful?
And I know, serendipity, right? And then after the session, I said, that's a neat horn. I'd love to play it again. And you said, why don't you keep it?
Yeah, I could tell. I mean, think about it. I've known Tony Frank for years, and he was one of the best trumpet players in Tucson for a long time. And then all of a sudden he's out of the scene, because of an injury. Then he shows up at the gig and he's able to play this instrument, even though he's been out of it for a while. It was obvious the instrument had his name on it. So I felt like the reason I got that instrument was so that you could acquire it. I really did. And I gave it to him, and I've never regretted it because he played that in clubs for quite a while.
I did.
And it gave you the ability to come back. But also, if you look at the Wikipedia article on E-flat alto horn, they call it a tenor horn in Great Britain.
Correct.
It's the best instrument for non-trumpet players to play because the embouchure doesn't require as much tension as the trumpet.
Exactly.
And it's a very natural kind of thing. So it made sense to me that if he started blowing that horn, that he was going to get his trumpet back. No matter what the doctor said, that trumpet playing was going to come back because using the air just habitually and the effortlessness would cause you to remember, and your muscles would remember, and your nerves would remember the way you used to play. And sure enough, it's happened. You're a better player now than you ever were before the accident.
And you hit it right there on the head. I believe I am, because you have to go through things to be a better person. You know what I mean?
Amen
you have to go
to that.
through dark times. I think Chet Baker was a much better player after he made the comeback because there was a darkness to his sound. There was something that was more moody, something that was more temperamental in his playing. And I think that also happened because I had to go through a struggle to get back to what I wanted.
did.
And I'll never, I don't have some of the abilities that I had back then, and I probably never will some of the abilities to play in the upper register like you do. but I had to find other ways to be relevant, like harmonic structures and
And your solos are more sophisticated and more emotional now.
Yes,
And they have more character than they did then.
Amen. Because before I wasn't thinking as much, and I was just playing, and now I'm thinking about how I feel as I play. But the point about the song was that was the first song that we did when I first played the trumpet when I came back, when we were at the old
Remarkable.
back in the
Yeah,
day.
so that's why it was important. And then also, I would come and sit in with you, and we would play it together.
Always
It's
play
been a tradition
Sunflower.
of ours for years to play that song.
So this has been almost 10 years.
It's a good long time,
Almost 10 years since that happened. And I tell you, I'm not only a better I'm not only a better player, I'm a better person because of going through that, because of the experience that I had with you.
Oh, what a great thing to hear.
Well, man, you saved me, man. You saved me. And actually, it helped my depression, well, because I was in a chair all day like a lazy boy, like not wanting to do anything. And that snapped me out of it. That got me going. And like you said, I went out in the clubs.
Yeah.
And I played that bad boy. And people came up to me, like Evan Dane came up to me and he said, "Man, you can really blow that thing, man."
Yeah,
I said,
exactly.
What the heck is that thing? You can
Surprise,
really
surprise.
Surprise, surprise. You can really play that thing. You say, "Too bad you can't play the trumpet that well." Of course that was said behind the scenes, but whatever. No, but it was a remarkable thing, and you're such an important person in my life. So I knew that my first guest had to be Glendon Gross.
Well, it's a great honor to be here. I'm just so thankful that you asked me, Tony.
Oh, you're
And
welcome.
I'm so excited for all your new plans and visions for Tucson's greater jazz community.
Glenn will be part of the Jazz Guild of Tucson Super Jam, October 16th, 7 p.m. at the Galactic Center, 35 East Toole Boulevard. And speaking of the Galactic Center, tonight over there they have Parangi in concert. It's world soul music, improvisational live looping. Join them for a special journey of ancestral rhythm, dance, meditation, sound healing, and cacao. All in the beautiful visionary art gallery of the Galactic Center, celebrating and honoring the alignment of the autumn equinox. That's right, it's autumn. We will also be celebrating the release of Parangi's upcoming album. So get over there. That is $20 in advance, $25 at the door. And they kick things off over there at 7:30 p.m. Doors open at 7 o'clock. Go over for Parangi, world soul music.
Fantastic.
Good stuff, right?
Absolutely.
They're our partner. They're working with us there. They're gonna be working with KMKR. We'll be having lots of events over there as well. And the new home for the Jazz Guild. They're sweet people over there.
That's a wonderful thing.
Kati and Steve and I. Glenn, it's a pleasure to have you here. Hey, you know what? Let's talk about our next cut. It's
Okay.
going to be from the Air Force Airmen of Note.
Yeah, so when I was in high school, the Airmen of Note, the top Air Force jazz band, came to my high school. It was Lafayette High School in Williamsburg, Virginia. And they blew me away. These guys were the most incredible trumpet players I'd ever heard.
Absolutely.
It was louder, higher, more
I
technical.
think they were the best big band of the 1970s.
I didn't know
and
that the
80s.
trumpet could be played that way. Well, guess what? The guy that was playing lead with them lives in Tucson
He
now.
lives in Tucson.
His name
Kenny
is Kenny
Smuckle.
Smuckle.
Kenny
He's a
Smuckle.
wonderful guy. I've talked with him, got to know him since.
And the other trumpet player that sat next to him is Mike Crotty, who is the jazz instructor, who is professor of jazz studies at Arizona State University now.
That's wonderful.
So both of these guys are on this cut right here.
Yes.
Kenny is the handsomest man. He looks like a male model at 65.
True, he is.
And his wife too is
His
beautiful.
wife is
Penny.
beautiful, too,
Penny
yeah.
and Kenny. Penny and Kenny
They look
are
like
the-
movie stars.
They look like movie stars that retired and went into Montana or something. I don't know, something like that. But anyway, here, and of course we are an Air Force town, people. So here is your United States Air Force Airman of Note, Mr. PC.
Fantastic. All right. Well, at this point, because my phone is severely drained, the battery, I'm going to go ahead and sign off the Facebook Live. But you heard it here, right here at very close to the Galactic Center, right? Not
Yeah,
exactly there.
we're about 500 yards from the Galactic Center. Yeah,
So thank you so much for tuning in. Tell your friends about this exciting opening that Tony's going to have on October 16th. And what's the address over there, by the way?
35 East Toole.
35 East Toole in Tucson, Arizona, USA. So thank you so much for tuning in. Bye for now.